Imagine Rome at the edge of darkness, not the city of marble and rhetoric, but the other Rome. The one that breathes in alleys and hides behind cheap wooden doors. As the sun slides away, the official city folds into itself like a scroll. What remains is an undercity of shadow and smoke, of human smell and pressing bodies. Breathe with me. Hear the distant clatter of a cart on cobbles. Smell the river's damp breath, the day's sweat, the sharp bite of fermenting wine and fish sauce. This scent tells you that you re-leaving the city you think you know and stepping into the night city, where most histories never look. Do you feel that small prickle of caution at the back of your neck? It means you're human. Keep it. You'll need it, because down the shaded lanes, the taverns open. They don't announce themselves with marble. They speak in sudden laughter and the clatter of dice. They're the city's secret pulse. Stop for a moment before the door. It's blackened with smoke, handled by rough hands. Light leaks from the cracks. Listen. Through the narrow opening comes the thump of a foot, the low bray of a man telling an old joke, and under it all, a steady, dangerous undertone. People who have nothing left to lose poost a door. It grates on the stone, announcing you. The air hits you hot, thick, and loud. Smoke spirals from hung lamps, climbing the blackened beams. The floor is beaten earth, sticky with spilled wine. Tables crowd the space, each one a microcosm of the city. Workers leaning on elbows, lovers huddled in the back, a ring of men around a dice game with eyes like small coals of greed and hope. The wine here isn't the nectar of villas. It's sour, diluted, but it costs a fraction of a day's wage and can loosen a tongue for confessions and for lies. Food is eaten with hands-coarse bread, torn and shared. Bowls of pickled fish to keep hunger at bay. Look at the faces. The butcher's apprentice with a scar across his cheek. The woman with an elaborate hairpin, who could be a tavern maid or something more. The young man with clean hands and empty pockets, speaking too loudly about plans he doesn't have. Each face is a story, or a wager, or both. The tavern's music is a raw chanta, plucked lyre, a tambourine, voices rising and falling like the Tiber in flood. But the mood is a weather system. A sudden gust of kindness can turn into a storm of fists. It's a theater of ordinary survival, where small, uncelebrated acts of endurance accumulate into a life. For every laugh, there is risk, a pocket picked, a purse slit. Yet, for every risk, there's solace, a kind ear, a shared story. A poet might even recite a verse fit for the Palatine, and for a brief hour. The tavern becomes a place of art, where stories survive not on marble, but on breath and copper coins. So, as you hold your cup of sour but honest wine, you've become part of this room. You have seen the city become itself at night, not a place of glorious monuments, but a place of beating human hearts. In this rough space, the world can still be beautiful in its own stubborn, hungry way. Thanks for joining this journey into Rome's hidden heart. The tavern doesn't announce itself. There are no shining signs, no carved marble facades, no torches to guide you. To reach it, you must walk. Walk with me through Rome, as night begins to spread her shadow across the city. Close your eyes and just imagine it. Your sandals slap softly against uneven cobblestones. The sun has already slid beneath the horizon, yet the day's heat clings stubbornly, caught between walls of stone and plaster. The city exhales slowly after the chaos of daylight. What was bright and golden a few hours ago now feels heavier, sharper, more secretive. Rome at night is not the Rome of triumphal arches and grand processions. It's another city, entirely a city where power hides in shadows, where whispers echo louder than speeches, and where laughter carries with it a hint of danger. As you step deeper into the streets, your senses sharpen. The smells hit you first. From one alley drifts the yeasty sweetness of bread, still warm from bakeries that never truly sleep. From another, the rank bite of sewage flowing openly through gutters, mixing with the sour reek of spilled wine. Somewhere nearby, incense coils from a small street-side shrine, a desperate offering to household gods to guard the night. All of it together bred. Smoke, sweat, sense. Wine is the perfume of Rome after dark. Then, the sounds. The great roar of the forum has quieted. The clamor of street vendors has faded. A cart rattles in the distance. A dog barks, but listen closely, and you'll hear the heartbeat of the night. They're a burst of harsh laughter. They're the faint rise of a drunken song, cracked and bold. And they're the sharp rattle of dice striking wood, followed by curses and the slap of coin-changing hands. The city is dimmer now, but never lifeless. On the grand avenues, oil lamps once stood tall, but here, their flames are weaker, licking shadows across the walls. The street you walked in daylight now looks alien. Statues that seemed noble now leer at you, their marble mouths twisted by shadow. Yet the back streets are alive. Men and women slip past, cloaks pulled tight, eyes lowered. Sailors, just off the river docks. Freedom with a few coins jangling. Even slaves, stealing an hour of freedom. And you notice their paths are converging. They are all heading in the same direction as you. The air thickens. The laughter grows louder. The dice rattle sharper. And then, you see it. A crooked wooden door, beneath a sagging roof, half swallowed by shadow. From within, light glows faintly, and with that glow comes sound thick, raw, unmistakable. Voices layered together. Laughter, arguments, songs. You stop. Your hand hovers over the door. The wood is rough, sticky. How many have crossed this threshold? The tavern doesn't welcome you. It dares you, and as you press your palm to the door, a thought stirs. What waits inside? The hinges groan as you push. The first thing that hits you is heat. It's like opening the door to a furnace, a warmth born from boudeilles pressed together. Oil lamps burning, and fires smoldering. It pulls you forward, and the cold streets behind you vanish. Then, the sound crashes over you. Laughter bursts in sharp cracks. Men argue, their Latin thick and slurred. Dice clatter against wood. A sound so crisp it cuts through everything. A woman's voice rises, teasing, mocking. The smell is next. Sour wine, acrid smoke, roasted nuts, and sweat, all mingling into the tavern's intoxicating perfume. You step across the threshold. The door swings shut. You are no longer in the city of Rome. You are inside another world. Your eyes adjust to the dim light. The room is low-ceilinged, the wood beams blackened with soot. And the people, they are everywhere. A man in a torn tunic slams a cup down. A pair of sailors throw dice, their eyes sharp. A woman leans against a post, her gaze assessing every newcomer. Freedmen laugh too loudly. The barkeep stands behind the counter, his eyes never still. His gaze flicks to you, measuring. Are you here to drink, to gamble, to fight? You move deeper in. The floor crunches with sawdust. People push past. A drunk man staggers too close. Everywhere, there are details. A coin spinning on a table. A knife resting on a belt. A woman whispering into a man's ear. You realize this place is alive. It's not a building. It's a beast that feeds on coin, wine, and secrets. A beast that swallows every soul who enters. And you are now inside its belly. The door behind you is gone. Ahead lies only the unknown. You feel the weight of every glance, and you know this night has only just begun. The door closes, and the world outside vanishes. Gone are Rome's stone streets, its flickering torches, its silent grandeur. In here is a different universe entirely. One stitched together from heat, smoke, and a sound so thick it wraps around you like a cloak. What hits you first isn't what you see, but what you breathe. The air is dense, almost solid. The smell of roasting meat is a physical blow fat, dripping onto an open flame. Smoke curling into the blackened rafters. It mixes with the sour reek of spilled wine, the sharp, salty musk of sweat-soaked butt, and the bitter sting of burning oil lamps. You breathe it in once, and you know, you'll carry this smell on your clothes long after you leave. Your eyes adjust. The ceiling is low, the walls covered in murals of dancing satyrs and wild grapevines, but they're scarred with graffiti, crude jokes, and names carved deep, demanding to be remembered. The room thrums with life. Wooden benches are sticky from spilt drinks. Tables wobble under the weight of clay cups, slammed down like drum beats. Dice clatter, coins scatter, arguments flare. This place isn't ugly. It's alive. It wears its history in every dent and stain. The noise is a storm. Conducting it all is the tavern keeper, his voice a bellow that rises above the roar, calling prices, cursing hagglers. He never stops moving. A serving woman weaves through the chaos like a dancer, a jug on her hip, her eyes sharp. She dodges grasping hands with a laugh that makes the crowd erupt even louder. She walks a tightrope in a room full of predators, and she knows it. But the tavern belongs to the crowd. Sailors, salt still in their hair, smelling of the sea. Foreigners with strange accents and colorful cloaks. Gamblers hunched over dice, their eyes like hawks, and laborers, their hands cracked and scarred, clutching cups as if the wine itself could heal them. This isn't the Rome of marble statues and temples. This is the Rome of flesh, sweat, laughter, and curses. And for a moment, the chaos doesn't feel hostile. It feels welcoming. For a few coins, you're no longer an outsider. The tavern swallows you whole, and suddenly, you are one of them. At one table, a man laughs so hard he weeps. Across the room, a fight brews over dice, voices rising sharp and venomous. And somewhere in a corner, half hidden by smoke, a lone flute begins to play. Its melody is fragile, trembling, but it dares to climb above the chaos, a ghost of a tune weaving between the shouting voices. You step deeper. To your left, gamblers huddle, their hands quick, practiced. One man palms the dice so smoothly you almost miss it. The next man slams the table, cursing Fortuna, the goddess of luck. When his fortune turns, the laughter dies into suspicion. Did he cheat? The tension simmers, ready to snap. One of them catches you watching. His eyes lock onto yours, not with a smile, but a challenge. You quickly look away. Near the hearth, the sailors gather, stomping their feet and roaring songs of storms and lost captains. Their song isn't for beauty, it's for release. It's a defiant shout against a world that has tried to drown them. One of them beckons you closer, thrusting a cup into your hand, urging you to join their rhythm. Then, it happens. The gambler's table erupts. A fist connects with a jaw, sending a man sprawling. Dice scatter. Coins spill. The room surges. Shouts rise, some cheering the fight, others backing away. A knife flashes, a sliver of silver in the lamplight, and the entire tavern holds its breath. But the keeper's voice thunders through the crowd. He curses both men, threatens them with a city watch, and his fury is so absolute that the knife vanishes. The fight withers, the storm passes, and then the flute begins again. The same fragile tune, weaving through the thick, charged air. It's a melody of survival, and you realize, with startling clarity, that this place isn't just about wine or dice. It's about survival. Everyone here comes to escape, to survive another night in a city that demands too much and gives too little. For a few hours, in the smoke and the chaos, they are free. And in this moment, you feel it too. You're no longer watching Rome's hidden world, you're inside it. You've made it inside. The smoke, the heat, the noise, all of it presses in, swallowing you whole. But as you find a place on a splintered wooden bench, something else captures your attention. The food and drink of this hidden world. A Roman tavern wasn't just a place to drink. It was survival. It was comfort. It was pleasure in its roughest, simplest form. A man with a greasy Innkeeper slams a wooden bowl down in front of you. Steam curls upward. carrying a smell so strong you can almost taste it. It's stew. Thick, heavy, made with lentils and beans, the cheapest staples in Rome. Somewhere in there, you catch the sharp tang of garum, that infamous Roman fish sauce, made from fermented fish guts left to rot in the sun. It was a salty, pungent liquid that Romans poured on everything. You raise the spoon. The stew is hot, earthy, salty, a flavor that clings to your tongue. While it isn't luxury, it fills the stomach, and that is what matters most here. Next comes the bread. Not the perfect loaves from a wealthy banquet, but of course, rough and dense. You tear at it with your hands. It's made of mixed grains, barley, millet, whatever was cheap. Sometimes sawdust was even added to stretch it further. You dip it into the stew, letting it soak up the broth. It helps. Beside you, a bowl of wrinkled, salted olives is set down. Someone pops one in their mouth and spits the pit onto the floor without a second thought. And then, of course, comes the wine. Carried in clay jugs, it sloshes and spills as the serving girl moves between tables. You raise your cup. The wine hits your tongue sharp, sour, watery. This isn't the prized vintage of emperors. This is cheap stuff, cut with water, maybe flavored with herbs or honey to mask its bitterness. But in Rome, wine was culture. It was also safety. Water was often filthy. But wine killed the germs. Even the poor drank it daily. Here, wine is the lifeblood of the night. Cups slam down. Dice rattle across wooden boards. A throw of the dice could mean a free drink, a stolen coin, or a bruised jaw. If accusations of cheating fly, a man slams his fist on the table, shouting in anger. Another smirks, scooping up the coins. The tension rises, then breaks into laughter. The game begins again, but food and drink aren't the only pleasures. From the shadows, a woman leans closer to a sailor, whispering in his ear. Her laugh is warm and practiced. Prostitutes worked the taverns as much as the streets, offering comfort to those with coins to spare. Every gesture could be a transaction. Every laugh could be bait. From a corner, a flute begins to play, its thin notes rising above the chaos. A man drums his hands on the table to the rhythm. The song is simple, but for a moment, voice is quiet. Then someone shouts for another drink, and the noise swells again. You begin to see it. The way food and drink here aren't just nourishment. They're theater. A new platter arrives with smoked fish, torn by greedy hands. Someone unwraps a packet of sweet, sticky figs, offering them around. A boy sells boiled chickpeas for a single coin. And then there's cheese sharp, crumbly, and pungent. The food isn't meant to be savored. It's fuel, an excuse to stay, to keep drinking, to keep laughing. A man demands stronger wine, waving his coins. With a shrug, the keeper brings something darker, richer. At another table, the drinking contest grows louder, wilder. Someone topples from his seat, and the room erupts. He grins from the floor, reaching for another cup. Yet, you notice the shadows between the joy. A man hunched in a corner, his eyes scanning the room. A thief. A plotter. For every cheer, there is a threat. A quarrel ready to explode. These taverns were crossroads of hunger, desire, and loneliness. But then, a joke is told so obscene that the whole room shakes with laughter. Men slap their thighs, spilling their cups. This is the heart of it. Rome outside is rigid, filled with laws and ranks. But in here, laughter is the law. And it hits you. This is freedom. For sailors, freedom from the sea. For slaves, stolen hours of liberty. For the poor, escape from hunger. In the tavern, the world outside its senators, its rules. Here, everyone is the same. Hungry, thirsty, and human. And as you raise your cup again, you realize this is why the tavern survives. Because Rome could conquer the world, but it could never conquer the need to laugh, to drink, and to belong. Step into the tavern with me. The air is thick with sweat, wine, and something sharper. Tension. The usual laughter and music are gone. replaced by a sound that chills the bone. The clatter and rattle of dice on wood. Here, in the smoky heart of the tavern, Rome's truest. Hunger awakens, not for bread, but for chance. For that one heart-stopping moment where a man's entire fortune hangs on the roll of a few small cubes of bone. These dice, no bigger than your thumb joint, were carved from animal bone, ivory, or clay. Some were perfect, but many were not. And that imperfection, it whispered of deceit, a cheater's hidden weapon. They rattled across the tables endlessly. Men hunched low, holding their breath, their eyes fixed on the spinning cubes. One man explodes in triumph, greedily sweeping up a pile of coins. Another curses, his head falling into his hands as his last denarii vanish. Technically, gambling was forbidden by Roman law. You were only supposed to play during Saturnalia, that wild winter festival where all the rules were turned upside down. But in here, the law was just a rumor. The streets of Rome were filled with men who craved the rush far too much to obey. It wasn't just about money. It was about pride. It was about daring the gods to decide your fate. Every single roll was a prayer, a taunt, and a challenge. Why was it forbidden? Because it was dangerous. It tore families apart. Men gambled away their wages, their homes. Even they clothes off their backs. The city's elite feared the unrest that boiled up when desperate losers had nothing left. And yet, it never stopped. The tavern keeper might claim ignorance, but the dice clattered just steps away. If the authorities raided, a few bribes were paid, and the games would start again the very next night. Rome, for all its laws, was a city that thrived on appetite, and nothing stoked that appetite like the thrill of pure chance. The coins glittering on the table weren't just tokens. Each one represented the cost of bread, rent, survival. But coins weren't the only thing at stake. Men wagered jewelry, cloaks, and boots. A man who walked in proudly might stagger out barefoot. There were even darker bets whispered in the corner stets that could bind a man into servitude. A desperate gamble for one's own freedom. And still, they played. Why? Because outside these walls, Rome's hierarchy was rigid. But here, at the dice table, for a fleeting moment, all men were equal. The cubes rolled blindly. The gods chose without caring about your rank. A beggar could defeat a soldier. That kind of equality was rare, intoxicating, and incredibly dangerous. Winning wasn't always a gift. Imagine you've had a miraculous run. Coins are piled high in front of you. Men clap you on the back, but their smiles are thin, their eyes sharp. Because in this place, too much luck is suspicious. Whispers slither through the smoke. Cheater, someone spits, their hand creeping toward a knife hidden in their tunic. Sometimes, a man who won big never made it home. An alleyway, a shadow, and a glint of steel. Fortune cut short by envy, and losing. Losing could be worse. Shame clung heavier than wine as a man stumbled into the night, pockets empty, knowing his family would go hungry. He might return the next night, desperate to win it all back. Most only sank deeper, until debts chained them tighter than any iron, and those debts had to be paid. If not in coin, then in labor, or in blood. The games themselves often bled into violence. A disputed roll, a hand too quick to snatch the winning stats all it took. A shove, a crash, and the tavern would erupt. Knives flashed, and wooden stools became weapons. But even after the blood was wiped away, the dice would rattle again. Because in a world where life itself was a gambleware fire, plague or war could take you at any moment. What was one more roll? It was a reflection of their reality. Chaotic, unforgiving, but thrilling. So, picture it now. A man shakes the dice in a leather cup. He tips it, and the cubes tumble across the scarred wood. The room holds its breath. A roar erupts. Someone laughs. Someone curses. In the corner, another man watches, his hand resting not on a cup, but on a knife. Because here, in the taverns of Rome, the games were never just games. They were survival. The noise fades first. The dice stop clattering. The shouts, the laughter, The groans of Los Olivet softens, like waves receding from a shore. For a moment, you still hear it in your memory, echoing inside your head. Sound of a heavy wooden door creaking open, followed by the gentle sound of night air. But as you push against the heavy wooden door, it creaks open with a long sigh, and suddenly the night air meets your face. Cool, fresh, quiet. The heat and smoke of the tavern slip away behind you, replaced by the stillness of Rome after dark. Out here, the air smells different. No sharp wine, no sweat, no smoke. Only the faint scent of damp stone, of oil lamps burning low, of bread cooling in shuttered bakeries. You step onto the uneven cobblestones. Sound of the door thudding shut. The crowd noise becomes a very distant, low hum. The door swings shut behind you with a dull thud. And just like that, the Tavern is sealed away. The roar of its crowd becomes nothing more than a muffled hum, like a heartbeat hidden deep within the city's chest. Inside, it was fire and chaos. Outside, it is shadow and calm. Think back to what you just witnessed. The rough benches and sticky tables. The cracked plaster walls painted with crude vines and drunken gods. The serving girl weaving through the press of butter. The dice clattering like tiny thunder across the wood. Tis was Rome, not of emperors or generals, but of sailors, freedmen, gamblers, and wanderers. Of the ordinary people who found, in these smoky rooms, a few hours of escape. History rarely tells their stories. It remembers marble arches, military triumphs, senatorial decrees. But nights like these, crowded, messy, filled with laughter and laws belonged. To the people, to those who built the empire with their hands, who lived in its shadow, who sought out joy wherever they could find it. By day, Rome is an empire, a city of loaths, of disciplining, of shining temples and straight roads stretching to the horizon. But by night, it becomes something else. Wine instead of law. Dice instead of decrees. Laughter instead of ceremony. The same stones that carried triumphal parades also carried the weary feet of men stumbling home from taverns. And those centuries have passed. Isn't it familiar? Even today, people gather when the sun sets in bars, cafes, taverns, kitchens. They share food, drink, laughter. They gamble a little, argue a little, fall in love, fall in trouble. The places change, the centuries pass. But the heart of it, the need for warmth, escape, and human company, that is timeless. Soft footsteps on cobblestone, a gentle night breeze now. Let us walk away. The streets are quieter here. The lamps flicker lower, their flames bending with the breeze. Shadows stretch across marble steps, across doorways and alleys. Somewhere far off, a dog barks. From behind the tavern door, you catch the faintest trace of a final song a man's voice, rough but steady, carrying one last verse before the night truly dies. And then, silence. Rome exhales. The city rests. Even the gods, perhaps, close their eyes. And so should we. The night has carried us through laughter, smoke, and chance. But now, all of it fades. The dice stop rolling. The coins stop clinking. The voices fade like whispers in a dream. All that remains is the steady quiet of a sleeping city, and your own breath. Calm and then close your eyes. Let the marble streets dissolve. Let the tavern drift away. Nothing remains now but stillness, and the soft promise of rest. Tonight, you walked through Rome with me. You stepped inside a tavern, heard the laughter of its people, felt the heat of its air, tasted its wine. And though we leave it behind now, more journeys wait in the shadows of history. If you enjoyed this walk, consider subscribing to join us again. But not tonight. Tonight, you rest. So, breathe deep. Settle down. Let the city fade, and sleep, as Rome itself sleeps, under the quiet stars. Good night.